it would be underselling my guest today if I was to just talk about television. He is known for Subspecies, and there are so many great films that people really do enjoy. One thing that I noticed, another film that I just really didn't want you to escape without me mentioning it, was you did a short feature based, well, not based on, but like a little mini documentary, I guess, about the Scorsese film Silence, which I imagine was on the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I just think that, not that I think any Scorsese film is forgotten or underrated or any of these things, because they're all watched and known and talked about. But for me, Silence is a really powerful one of his better later films, I think, that people really, and some incredible performances. How did you get involved in that?
For a number of years after Full Moon kind of lost its funding, about 2000 or so, I had some friends that owned a production company that were doing like behind the scenes features and marketing for Disney films, and so I went to them and started working with them and kind of taught myself how to edit on an Avid, because I had started out as an editor. So for about 20 years almost, I did a lot of little features about Walt Disney and the artists and their families that worked at the studios, and intimate portraits of Walt Disney. And along the way, we had a friend that was working with us who also knew Scorsese. And so she got the company the jobs of doing not the Irishman, but anyway, a couple of Scorsese films, and one of them was Silence. And so it was like interesting to go from Walt Disney, who was like super influential in my childhood and the childhood of people that kind of grew up in the era of Sunday night, Wonderful World of Color. And I did a feature-length documentary about Walt Disney and Salvador Dali and their collaboration. So it was an interesting period of my life, in which I learned a lot from going through the Disney archives and reading story meeting notes and stuff like that. But getting to work with Scorsese was, I think he's like the greatest American director, of this generation. And so it was really, really kind of like an honor to do that documentary. I thought the film was powerful, but almost like too powerful and torturous in a way,
Yeah, you were definitely, I would agree with that, in the sense of it's not a film I've watched as many times as television, let's put it that way. I think it's really well acted. It's an incredible story. It's such a hard watch, but a really worthwhile watch. You come out of it but like you say, I think torturous is probably the word. There is a lot of inhumanity in there, and it's long as well, so it's a lot. It is kind of torturous in that sense. But yeah, I think it's a film that doesn't get talked about very much, which is quite strange considering. So, say for example, like The Irishman, just kind of washed over me, but it was talked about a lot. Whereas Silence is masterful in the way it's made.
It's like, I think it was like a personal, obsessive kind of project for Scorsese, and it probably didn't meet with a lot of box office success because of the subject matter. It was so specific. For me, I can watch a movie like Casino or Goodfellas, anytime it comes on TV, I start watching it and I can't turn it off, So for me, he's like, technically brilliant film director. And in a way, I think Silence was like a more minimalistic stylistically too. So it didn't have kind of the flashy Scorsese flourishes of cinema. It was way more controlled, and maybe part of that was shooting on location but yeah, powerful movie.
Yeah. It's such a tonal shift, me asking you that.
Yeah.
but I just couldn't let it go by because it's one of those films that has stayed with me. I think I've maybe seen it twice, and it really has stayed with me. You know, some films stay with you in different ways, don't they? And that's one where you don't have to watch it a lot of times for it to be memorable.
Yeah.